another way of talking about creativity. This is my favorite one, basically. It's a cognitive process that creates unlimited solutions. This is the core of what you can achieve within any organization or any group. Unlimited solutions. Now, think outside the box or inside the box. Talk inside the box or outside the box. Create outside the box or inside the box. This is what you would like to achieve, right? How does the organization look like? We are now moving to something totally different. We had a traditional way of having organizations, an organization model where you had a boss, and we are in a speed that's unimaginable, moving into flat organizations. Also, with the youth coming up and this slightly narcissistic age, it's been pushed on. Flat organizations demand people that are self-sufficient. They have responsibilities. They have power over finance. It could be rather scary, but in my way of seeing it, is set the people free. Now, how do you boost that in organization? How can you make that the best possible? You need to have two tools: a visible leadership. No matter if you are in a small group or a big group, it has to be a leadership that is visible. You need to have a clear message. This is a burner. If you want to have an organization that is creative, actually brings the future on board without paying extra from outside, you need to cut down 1/3 of the administration. This is in order to allow the rest to work towards the future. Otherwise, it becomes a rather non-flexible organization. It's too much controlling, basically, shall I put it slightly. Now, if you have an organization that deals with administration, those are not the people I'm talking about. Now, we now need to move forward. So, who are you? You are a person that has a brain like a pink monster. This brain wants to get excited. It wants to eat. It wants to fall in love. It wants all those things in order to be rather happy. How does it work practically when you put together a message or how you serve as a communicator? It takes 1 second to determine if this is a friend or foe. 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. Science now is coming up towards less than 1 second. Should I stay or should I run? Now, in Sweden, people are rather polite, so they stay. In New York, they don't give a shit because it's not interesting enough, so they run. It's not out of fear, but out of boredom. It could be equal sometimes. Now, if you have a sniff at the partner next to you, so you deal with the partner next to you, sniff the person next to you. It's rather unpolite, but this is actually what we do. So have a bit of a sniff. Try it on. Don't lean too close, because that's rather rude. But if you sniff slightly, you're dealing with pheromones. Now, you can sniff the person next to you on the other side, and those who has a gap, you can't do that. I know we are in Latvia, but please try it out. Sniff the other person. Yeah? Pheromones determine if that person is in a psychical right mind of state. If this person is slightly stressed or has a depression, that sweat is going to be very deep and big, heavy in sniffing taste, if one may say so. So you are able to determine if a person is happy or not through sniffing. Now, in a cultural sense, if we put together Japanese people in a room together with French people, You need to know this, because there are cultural clashes when it comes to this. Japanese people eat mainly fish because there are not many cows on this island. I'm not being sarcastic. They're very good at fishes. They can determine by look and smell if this fish is just gone, past due date. Now, this is what you're being trained to from a very small age. Now in France, they love everything that's fermented. Cheese, meat, just do it, ferment the whole thing. And that, of course, has its own history, because they needed to have the food a bit longer, but they also developed a technique. If you put these two people in the same room, they're going to sniff each other. And the outcome is not going to be very nice. Because what do the French people smell like from a Japanese perspective? Rotten. And how do you speak to something that's rotten? Well, you rather don't, do you? It's nasty. So we do sniff in this first introduction, this pink brain of ours that is very like a monster. The other thing that we do is mirror neurons, and I'm going to illustrate this. Let's say I walk along the street, and there's a little kid, he's 5 years old, and he has a thumb out where he shouldn't. He is supposed to step out from a car, the car door crashes and slams totally on his thumb, and he is stuck and screaming. Now, some of you will feel this sort of sense in your gut, oh my God. With your whole body, you're going to have this contraction. That is mirror neurons. Another thing that you perhaps are familiar with is if you're biking along on your bike, and you're being a guy with a package down here, and then you suddenly slip straight on the road. Okay, you think. That's the same for females. So if I watch a guy, I'm not having a package down here, and he slips, I'm going to have this instinct feeling, oh, that hurt. Because that's mirror neurons. That is over the sexes. So we have tits and packages, but we go over sexes. That's storytelling. If you can entice the mirror neurons, so I could go into your body for a little while and feel it out, then you're working with the mirror neurons, right? And that could be by a story. If I say 90% is about paralanguage, it's about the non-spoken word. It's the way you behave without talking. 37 facial muscles, they are proceeding to even a bit more now, up to 40, but science is a bit wicked on this part. Constantly communicate a message. We go down, not to the nipples, but slightly above. This is our communication area. This is the television area. 3% is about content. That is the actual message. And 7% is lost. Now, one has to ask yourself, do I spend more time on me as a communicator, the leader or the boss, or the person that's going to get this creativity going in the group or whoever you're working with, or just at home? I would say yes, you need to. Because we are building trust with our bodies. So who are you as a communicator? How would your message be like? Now, you look to your right, and then you tell that person to your right your best way of communicating. Is it short? Is it long? Is it just by words? It's called audio in my world. Or is it text? Or do you prefer not to communicate, talk at all? Now, let's have a go. You try it, turn to your right, and tell the person next to you the way you prefer to put out the message. Okay? And you do it in your language. Okay. And then you turn to the other person and check out, listen to that person, how do they prefer to communicate? The person on the other side, let them know how you prefer to communicate. Okay, give it a try. Okay, are we done? Slightly. Those that don't know what the hell I'm talking about, you need to go home and do your homework. Because this message that you create needs to stem from you. You need to know your preferences, because otherwise you're not trustworthy. It's no way you're going to pick a PowerPoint presentation or come out with a blurry blah, 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 if you want to entice that pink monster of a brain in other people's, the receivers. Do your homework. I could put out on the website the way to get this rather quickly done. I like quick fixes. It's not a big, big problem, but you need to know, do I like to stand? Do I like to sit? Do I like to have short meetings or long meetings? Do I just want to put out 3 words, like the artist Joseph Beuys, that just coped a lot of words underneath each other, and magically, because it's a cognitive process, people fill the gaps in, and they understood what he was talking about. A rather famous artist in Germany. Now, or you can just show a picture. This is what I would like to achieve. This is what I see a problem. You need to pick your favorite style, because then you are the most trustworthiest. Okay, let's delve into this. What is it about? If you're going to write down one sentence from this lecture, this is the one. You need to figure out what is it about when you try to entice other people's brains, if it's a vision or a problem. If you cannot come up with one sentence, you are lost. Some people in America call it a pitch. I don't give a shit about that. If you can formalize what this is about, you have more than one message. And then it's more tricky for the receiver to get enticed to actually do what you want them to do, or think differently, because you want them to think differently. You want them to discuss. Malcolm Gladwell, author, he said, you know when it's right. This is what is about one sentence. You know that in your stomach. And I tend to lean on him on this matter. So you say it out loud, because funnily enough, your brain needs to hear this sentence. And then your body kind of says if this is okay or not. So what is this about? One topic. Then you try to make a sketch. I put the timer on 7 minutes, and this is neuroscience, basically, and I'm not going to go into all the guys and females that are standing behind me, but if you're going to stress the brain for a bit in order to create a good message, put it on 7 minutes, and it's going to be crap. It's just going to be really average. But then you're going to tap yourself on the shoulder and think, fuck, I'm good. I've done it, because that's the worst part, to actually do it. So, I'm good. You can't go to the fridge and eat food, because then you're going to get a bit fat after 5 years in the business. You cannot take booze, champagne is a lovely drink, but you cannot do that, because then you're going to end up in AA, right? So you need to say you're good in a less harmful way. Sex is also forbidden, right? It's always end with A, all these things. Okay. Then you set the timer for another 20 minutes. And then you think this. Is there any general words in this message or not? I mean by general words, if I say blue, we don't know if I talk about the blueness in the ocean in Mediterranean, or if I talk about the blue that I see when I stand up in the morning in Stockholm. You need to define blue, Here it's a general word. If you say tired, is it tired from being partying 2 nights in a row? Is it tired of taking care of your kids that refuse to sleep during the night? Is it just tired because you lack the sun? What type of tired is this? You need to define each word, because they're going to be arrows straight into that brain of the receiver, and then it's going to shake a bit in that pink monster of the receiver, and this is what we want to achieve. You need to add this. Is it interesting or not? Is it interesting enough? And my comparison with this is, are you familiar with the Shine story, Alice in Wonderland? Yes, a hand up. Alice in Wonderland. The little girl that ate a cake and something bad happened, or mysteriously, okay? If don't, could you please check it up afterwards, because I really want you to get this one. Alice in Wonderland found a cake that said, "Eat me." She took a bite, and then she fell through a funnel, quickly, dramatically. This is interesting. You skip all the beginning, blah, 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 blah. Go straight to the eating the cookie and straight into the funnel, the fall. Then you have an interesting vision, or a problem, or something you would like to achieve. If you're going to talk to an audience like this, you need to have text, sound, and visuals combined, because everybody in this room has a preference. And those are the preferences. Now, firm rules. This is the golden treasure for creating an environment for the new. You need to establish welcome. How do you say welcome to a new colleague? No gossip. I do not like gossip at all. It creates havoc in organization. You need to say when somebody's gossiping, or, well, I'm not into this, we're not doing this here. Refuse the gossip. And how to act. Mailing habits. Are you mailing through business hour or afterwards? Establish all those rules, because they're geared towards only one thing, and it's safety. Because we need safety to be creative, because just the act of being creative is rather scary. If you are in a company, you're going to get people together. You get 4 to 5 people together. More than that, the group gets stifled. They need to be open-minded, like to discuss, and most of all, result-driven. You set up 3 meetings where you are in it yourself. If they don't contribute, you need to pick that person out. Remind now, there is an Irish professor that talks about this, you take them out if they don't contribute. But people can contribute in different ways. And one way is actually to afterwards contribute, because you need to think for a bit. You know, you come up with these glorious ideas in the shower, or in the pub, or somewhere else, but not at work. Leave space for those that are different thinkers to contribute. People that don't contribute from the beginning, they're normally 5% of the group. They're going to create 90% of problems later on, just due to the fact they're not there. They don't want to be there. Okay, so tell each other, we'll not have so much time here, but a memory. I want you to pick a memory from when you were 7 years old, around about. It's not like rocket science, but it cannot be later than 11. So think about a memory when you were genuinely happy. And then you tell the person to your left that memory. Okay, find a memory, genuinely happy. Yeah, and then tell the person next to you. And if those that have not swapped, swap. Has everybody spoken about a memory? Yes or no? Yes for a hand up. Yeah. Then we swap, so that person that's been quiet, tell the person next to you about a genuinely happy memory from around when you were 7 years old. Okay? Try it. Okay, stop. This feeling that you have in your gut talking about this is the feeling you're looking for. It's a cell memory when you are in a good group. This is what Google and everybody talks about. This is the flow that goes up and creates amazing things. Now, I want you to do this one. You're going to tell the person next to you about a major mistake that you have done. You were the creator of this major mistake in a company. In a company. No marriage is allowed. Okay? And now stop. What you just have done, stop, stop, stop. What you just have done, you can never do again. Never. You see, you lack something. And if you remember me forever, please, if you go into a group and you don't have this one, you need to have an agreement, a confidentiality agreement. I'm going to tell you something that really sort of hurts, or, this cost the company 1 million. And I didn't realize better. You need to have that safeguard in the group. You need to say what's talked about in this room stays in the room. I find it rather hygienic. Then I've been studying a bit of law, and there are lots of terms around this. But I think just saying it out loud works perfectly fine. And then you follow it, right? The channels that you have, you need to check them for those ideas to come forward. I'm going to tell you 2 stories because my time is up. And I want you to think about, do I know how we in our organization will deal with this? If you don't, you are in some shit, right? Vera sits in a hospital. She takes the call when people are mentally in. This is the first callers, and she assesses whether we're going to go to a doctor or not. Now, Vera hates the telephone. When she signed up for the contract, she was a nurse, but she ended up on the phone. Secondly, she hates the new computer system that a hospital installed. They do it every year, a very costly thing. And she doesn't want to fill in the forms, because she knows after 1 year they're going to change the program again. So when they call, she just says, sorry, I think you should go somewhere else, because this doesn't seem, sincere enough. So within 1 year, they lost 80% of new patients. If you stand in the management and you lose 80% due to a person that doesn't want to fill out forms, and you are a co-worker and you realize this about Vera, I know her, I know this is the problem. Where do I go with this information so we then can have new patients and actually have a management and income? The other thing is, Bang Olufsen makes really good loudspeakers, and the design was beautiful in the 90s. They're high on techniques, engineering, sound equipment, all sorts of things. It's very, very expensive. It's premium segment. Now, they have not been following the fashion up to date. So one guy steps into a Olufsen shop and says, listen, I would like to have the loudspeaker like this, you know, and then I would like to have different colors, so I could put them up behind my television so it turns out like a movie. And I would like to vary those colors so I can have a big one or a smaller one, but create a compact system. Living in a small flat. Everything that Bang & Olufsen earlier produced was based on living large. Now, where do you put this brilliant idea that comes from outside the box? Where does it go in the company? Well, somebody was smart enough to collect him and actually hire him. So this is out there on the market today. Now, you need to spend some time to create the fiction and the friction so other people can become creative. And that is what's mostly needed in organizations, and especially in flat organizations. Okay, that's all for me. Thank you.